All right. Welcome to Office Hours by School Rubric. If this is your first time joining us, we are so excited to have you. If this is like your fourth time joining us, six, whatever, we are still very excited to have you. And we are so excited to be here. If you don't know what Office Hours is educators and people in the education, realm talking on these different platforms about different things. And I know I speak for everyone here when I say we are so excited because we've been talking a lot about that student voice lately, how we can amplify those, talk about those, and really kind of analyze and say, what can we do as educators to lift those voices and say, hey, here's what we need to do to make education even better. And if you haven't checked out our one word episode, the last one, what a powerful episode. Wow. I know I said the whole time I had chills. I said that afterwards when we were backstage and we talked a little bit, and I meant every word of that. So, time for some introductions. Traci, what are you up to?
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. That 1 week, I missed it a lot. Intelligogy, the podcast, and working on my first book with DBC, and just all things school rubric. So, very, very happy to be here. Emine, go ahead. Take it away.
Thank you, Traci. My name is Emine. I'm from Detroit and I'm back in Detroit, but normally I am in New Delhi, India, running Sprouting STEMs, an after school STEM program, and also a blog. So happy to be home.
And we are so excited that you decided to join us today.
Yeah.
I know the cool part is we get, like we said beforehand, people from all over the world. And we also have Melissa with us, which she was with us in that one word episode. So if you haven't checked that out already, check it out. Melissa, can you give us a little introduction?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm so grateful to be back. I am Melissa Campesi. I am an EL educator, advocate, and author in New Jersey. And I'm just excited to hear some more student voices and perspectives on virtual learning.
Thank you so much. I know I'm really excited. So today's format's going to be pretty simple. We're going to watch 3 different videos from 3 different students that, their voices are all over the place. I mean, all over the world, all different age groups. And we're going to talk about some positives and negatives, and kind of say, hey, what do we think when we hear this? What does it make us teachers think? How can we relate? How can we build from that and keep on growing? And we are so excited to already see people. We saw some comments already down below. They are so excited. I know I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear these positives, these negatives, and really amplify these student voices. So we are actually going to dive right in. And our first video is from Marina in Spain. So we check it out, and we can't wait to talk about it.
Hi, my name is Marina and I'm a high school senior in the city of Oviedo in Spain. I think the positive aspects I had from my online learning experience are mostly that I got to learn a lot more about several online learning tools such as Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, as well as other apps like Zoom, and I think that will be very useful in the future if I want to apply for jobs that require online working. And a negative aspect for me was mostly not to have a separate space, one for studying and school and another space for leisure time, because I was at home all times. So that really made me struggle to concentrate and get job done sometimes.
Wow, what a powerful video already for our first one. And I know when she was talking, I already made some notes to the side beforehand, but I was writing. Every time I hear it again and again, I make more and more notes. So, Emine, we're going to turn over to you. What are some things that stuck out to you, maybe as far as maybe a positive and then a negative kind of thing you noticed, and what it kind of made you feel?
Yeah, I think the pandemic did wonders in regards to catapulting K-12 up to the tech standard that we needed to be catapulted to. I think we were all dragging our feet and kind of left in the dark in regards to how we can use tech in a meaningful way. I'm doing a project with kids in New Delhi and kids in New Jersey, and we're not even batting an eye as to how we can collaborate meaningfully on Microsoft Teams. It's just become a way of life and a way of learning, and they're creating design projects on their own together. So not only are they doing this in high school, but this is how they're going to collaborate in the real world. So that's been a big positive, is that educators just embrace tech in such a relevant, meaningful way. In regards to space, it's funny because I'm doing a STEM challenge with my students now where they're using Tinkercad to design an accessible space for all people. And side by side, I put an image of a really well-designed classroom that uses all aspects of universal design. It's colorful, it's got seating all over the place, it's big and spacious so wheelchairs can move around. And then a normal classroom that we've all gone to, just rows, couple four walls, and just like two colors. And immediately I asked the kids, well, like, which classroom would you want to be in, 1 or 2? And they're like, number 1, it makes us happy. And I think it's really important that we have to make spaces for ourselves that make us happy in home, in the classroom. So just being mindful of that. Creating and designing isn't just for designers. It's for us to feel good throughout the day. And we have to give that to the kids as well.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And we already have a comment down there about, Spotlight on Tech is not only a tool, but is an, integral part of the instruction. And I 100% agree with that. We're talking about that tech part and how we saw students grow. Melissa, what did you kind of grab from that video?
Well, I see her point about the positives and using technology. And I have worked also on projects globally with classes in the United States and across the seas, and it just brings the educational community closer. Students get to interact with students from other countries, and they just become global coordinators and collaborators. So that is definitely a positive. And I can also see how intertwining your workspace and your learning space can be difficult as well because, you could lose focus. So defining those two spaces was hard during the pandemic.
Yes, exactly. And Traci, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this. It's great to always hear a kindergarten teacher's viewpoint because I feel like they put things very simply and they simplify them. And I love hearing kindergartners, teachers just talk about things.
I could sing a song right now. I want to shout out first to David Hennell again. Spencer, you referenced his tech comment, but right before that, he said, happy to hear from students. And that's something we've been talking about in this show a lot, is really bringing in the student voices. And we just talked behind the scenes for a moment that so many times we're focused on research and best practices in education, but isn't it all about the kids? So I'm just overjoyed that we are actually bringing the student voices to the forefront. So that being said, a couple of things on Marina's video. One of the first things I want to say is she's forward thinking. She said that all of this could be helping her with a potentially online job in the future. Okay, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, y'all need to be finding her and picking her up, because that's who you want on your team. So that really stood out to me. And the other piece of managing that time and the space and the freedom of being home and having those separate workspaces, it is the ideal environment. And I, again, look at how she's thinking, like she's learning how she learns best. She's realizing that these skills can help me in the future. Wait a minute. I need to put my laptop here and not my books and my whatever else here. So she's really, really thinking a lot. But the other side of that coin that I want to highlight is from the equity piece. So many kids don't have the luxury of having a choice of workspace. So many kids don't have a desk. So many kids are sharing devices. So, how are we as educators supporting those kids that don't have the freedom of choice? Are we being patient with them when they don't have their camera on because they might be uncomfortable about their background? We need to check ourselves in a lot of situations when it comes to remote learning.
Yes, perfectly said, Traci. And I know so much of the time going out of our way during those times and making sure those kids feel comfortable and making sure their voices are heard is what's so important to us, I know, here on this show and educators all over the world. And now we're going to move on to the next video, which is Donovan. So we are going to move on to that video. And I am so excited because this is one of my favorite videos.
Hi, my name is Donovan. I'm a 10th grade student in Mansfield, Texas. And one challenge or something I don't like about virtual school is the home aspect of it. Now, don't get me wrong, I like being at home, but some classes, I need to be at school to be able to learn better. I've always had that problem, so it's nothing new. It's just something that I need to be in school for. And also, I'm what you could consider social. So I also don't like the fact that I'm being here alone, isolated. I mean, yeah, Dad's home, but he's Dad. So I like to be with my friends. That also does help me.
I love that. It's that. And really, on a serious note, when I see this video of Donovan, it's so me, and I couldn't imagine being the social person I am. And if me and Donovan were in a classroom together, we'd probably get in a world of trouble because we both like to talk, but a lot of kids, that's how they learn. Like he said, I need that interaction and I need that face-to-face to say, hey, this makes sense to me. I can draw a connection from it. I'm a visual learner, whatever those kind of learners are that they need to see it. That's what he's kind of saying. And so I connect with this one on a personal level so much. Traci, I know this is your son, and I would love for you to go first and give us a little take on this video.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm still, every time I watch it, I'm just full of smiles because I'm like, yep, everything he said is spot on. Donovan struggles a lot in the virtual setting. And the spring last year, when we kind of shut down right after spring break and going into the first part of this school year, it was difficult. I mean, it was really, really hard. And there were missing assignments, a lot of missing assignments. And teachers didn't have as much grace as I thought they should, not giving him a pass, but grace. Mm-hmm. And finally, some of the emails I sent are really gut wrenching. I'm about to take it down just a little bit. Sorry. Locally here, our suicide rate has been uncomfortably high in any suicide. But knowing that this was hard for him, knowing how much he was struggling, he didn't have any of those signs, but how many parents say he didn't have any of those signs, and my child's well-being and knowing that he's okay and has so much joy is so much more important than an assignment. So we did everything we could to make sure that he did enjoy school. We have some really dear friends, and we had a bubble where he could go to their house because he had to be in a setting with a peer. And that was the turnaround point, and so we have to be in tune with how kids feel. And he is so overjoyed and happy now, and just, he needed people. And, being with his friends, that's his joy. We have a lot of fun as a family. We're a close, goofy, silly family, but it's Dad, Yeah.
Dad is dad.
So I think the last thing I'll say is really, as educators, as parents, we have to do that self-check again and ask ourselves, are we so focused on making sure an assignment is in and we're not looking at the child and taking care of the child? And that goes all the way to high school, college, we have to see these kids and make sure they're okay before we try to get any assignments in.
And I think that's so powerful, Traci. And I know for me, I even had, parents reach out to me that had younger kids, and they had 3 or 4 of them at their house. And they're like, I just can't do this. So that whole emotional aspect, I think, too. And I'm so glad that you kind of added to that piece, because he came to me and he's like, I just can't do this. I'm by myself with these 3 kids trying to get everything done. And I said, what do the kids do when you're at work during the day? He's like, they help me, do different things like measure boards and stuff. I'm like, that is great educational wise. And I was like, do what you can do. And, that's what it's about. And we even have a comment down below. Couldn't agree more than the communication between students and parents is key. And I agree so much. When those parents reach out to me and they tell me their story, I'm not going to say, tough. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, how can I work with you? And how can we give your child the best experience? So Melissa, would you like to kind of add kind of what we're saying here with, Donovan's video?
Yeah, we have to be cognizant of the different personalities that we have in our classrooms. Some students, transitioned okay into virtual learning, and some students are just the interactive ones that need to be around people and kind of feed off the energy. And both my sons are those two different personalities. My older son he's okay to stay home, he gets his work done, but my younger one wanted to always go out, and it was, focus wise, he needed to be reinforced to do virtual learning. So we just have to take into consideration the different personalities and know that, especially as a teenager, they're all about creating moments outside of the house and navigating these new relationships. So it is that adolescent age is a tough age. So we have to be really sensitive to their perspectives and how they are feeling during this time. Yes,
exactly. And Emine, if you could kind of wrap us up for this conversation, I would love to hear what you have to say, just because, we're all kind of in the US and we always talk about how you're kind of over there and how things, have looked for you when you look at this kind of video.
Yeah. Tracy said a fantastic word, which was joy. And I actually had another interview earlier today where they asked me like what my mission was for teaching. And from the very beginning, I've been teaching for 12 years. And it started in Detroit. It was to bring joy into learning and to humanize the whole process. And a lot of that was inspired by Paulo Freire's work, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And a very simple way to humanize the learning process is just talk with your students, just as a person. Like remember that these are human beings that we're raising. Put the subject matter on top of raising them, right? It doesn't always have to be shove the subject matter in them and then forget that there's these people that we're trying to grow and raise and go out into the world, right? And just opening up that dialogue with my kids and my students and letting them open up that dialogue amongst each other and letting them see a very real, raw side of me has really, really helped on the online setting. Because I've had a lot of kids really struggle, and India is a very social, there's a billion people there where everybody's always together. And this was really, really hard for a lot of my students to not be around other people. So the more that you put, I just love what Tracy's been saying, just kind of remembering that these are people that we're raising, and the subject matter and the content 100% should come second.
Yes. So. And the comments are flying in here. People they're kind of having that same theme of, educators need to make sure they check in with students, that they can be themselves in that space. And that's kind of what you hit on. I think that's 100% accurate, authentic, and that's really what we need. And I think, when we talk about, that virtual learning, and we're going back, what can we take away from that and what can we bring to the classroom, I think, is that aspect, and that notion. And I could really talk about this video for hours, but we don't have that kind of time. So we need to move on to Phillip, which this video is great because he's one of our younger ones, and it's always great to get those wide variety of ages. So we're going to watch it right now.
Hi, my name is Phillip. I'm in kindergarten.
Hey Phillip, so what do you like the most about virtual school?
That on Zoom I can use my stamps and I can change faces and I can change my backgrounds.
What do you like to do at home because you're at virtual school?
I can read books, I can hang out with my family, I can do puzzles, I can play.
What don't you like about virtual school?
That some other kids have questions, but I have a question on Zoom, but they never call me.
Wow. That's breaks my heart every time. Every single time. And that's what I was going to say before, I kind of just turn it over to Melissa. So Melissa, why don't you kind of break this video down for us?
So I think Phillip brings up a valid point, and I see it as well especially with the younger students. And I also feel for the teachers because it's one teacher and, trying to get the conversation going with all these students and picking up on, everybody's point of view. So I understand it's hard. So I think just finding ways, maybe creating breakout rooms and having, small groups where the teachers can pop in and maybe provide social interactive prompts and questions to get to know the child more on a personal level, and for the students to connect as well, I think is important. So, I think there's a big value in having those breakout rooms and, really having the students being seen and heard by the teachers.
Yes, I think you said that perfectly, and it's so hard for the teachers, but also, when you hear a student like this individual just go, it's hard for me to get my question answered. You really feel for them, and you think, what are some alternative options that you could use, in your room, so that all student voices are heard and no one's feeling left out this way, and they're not feeling like they're getting a good, educational experience. Emine, what is something maybe that stood out to you when you watched Phillip's video? I know you are in the elementary like me, so this one probably pulled at your heartstrings a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched it the second time, and he's talking about just the simple things that make him happy, like the stamps and the reactions and little things that we can just put into an elementary student's life that just means the world to them. Like I had a little birthday party and they all came on Zoom and it was chaos, but they just loved it. They loved doing the little scavenger hunts and playing four corners. So informal time has been working wonders, and I try at least once a month to set up some informal time for us to just get on Zoom and just be us with no agenda, or I'll have a little party planned. But it definitely in the beginning, I did set aside time for one-on-ones, so to meet with them one-on-one, because we're not getting that vibe, that energy of being together. So I need a little bit more time to sit and talk to you, and so you don't fall into the crowd, and we can just sit and chat and get to know each other. And I know we don't all have a lot of time to do that, but even setting aside 15-20 minutes just to chit chat with a kid, it could make all the difference for that child too. So that's something that I've been doing, and I've been seeing a big improvement with overall happiness in the class. They after that one-on-one, they come and oh, she's my friend now. We're close.
And that's something you're going to be able to take into the classroom, which is phenomenal. And then I know for me, I did something similar where I told my kids, I'm going to have a set 2 hours where I'll sit and I'll keep my Zoom on for 2 hours. And I'm just going to sit there, and if no one shows up, which has happened before, my wife's like, what? But then there's some days where, 2 or 3 kids show up and, hey, Mr. Sharp, I wanted to show you my pet rabbit, because kids seem to love that, and all that good stuff, and do all those kind of things. And they love it, Hey, there's one of my high school friends who said, I'll tell you. That's funny.
That's amazing.
I was trying to hold it together.
I know.
That's amazing.
I barely saw that till the end, but yes. And just the fact that you can come to them and they can see you as a release to their everyday life and what's going on. I know I had one girl that she would come every day religiously and hang out with me. And she's like, I just don't really have anyone at home right now. My dad works, my mom works. I just really like hanging out with you. And I was like, I could give her that sanity of someone in a social interaction. It's, absolutely great. So Traci, do you mind wrapping up this video first? Because you are a kindergarten teacher and Phillip's in kindergarten. So this works out perfect. You guys are made for each other.
We are. I love my little Phillip. When he comes into the room sometimes on the camera, I'm like, hi, Phillip. He's like, who are you? But a couple of things. So I'm going to start first with his exact words were, never, almost like never call me. And that's his reality. That's how he's feeling. So that's how a lot of kids are feeling. And on the teacher side of the fence, it's not always like we are ignoring a child. A lot of times, on my screen, even when I have the option clicked to completely display and show all students aren't on the screen. I see their initials and their faces are not there. On their end, they feel like they are being seen. And so a lot of times when those particular kiddos have their hand raised, I tell you, it breaks my heart if I miss a kid because I can't see them. That's that's the whole thing. Every child wants to be seen. Every adult wants to be seen, and feel valued and validated. So some things I do to kind of help all the kids. In fact, I did this today. I used a spinner. We were doing greater than, less than kindergarten. So I would use a random picker. You can see oh my gosh, they lit up. Like there's the spinner with the kids' names. And so if it was Spencer and Melissa, each one of you had to write a number between 10 and 20. And then they would share the number and they'd have to use the complete sentence. My number is greater than blah, 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 because. Like that simple task of it really benefited me because it was making sure I didn't miss anybody. Like, because every time a name was picked, I pull it away. But for them, it was like the life of the party. So we have to be inventive and innovative in our practice. And we have to remember, even in high school, you have got to bring the fun, because at the end of the day, I promise you, if you bring the fun to high school, they'll start acting like middle school kids. They just, they deserve that same experience. And then the other thing I'll say about that is, today we also did something very special. We you have these synchronous blocks, and so the time is like really short, and like that asynchronous time, you're like, I have so much I want to teach these kids. Well, today we did the full, complete writing process, and I didn't care what I missed. Every single child today was going to be able to share their writing on the screen. How did I make sure I didn't miss anybody, y'all? I went old school because I have ADD and ADHD. I had to actually, every time a child spoke, I wrote the kid's name down. Every time they spoke, I wrote, because I wanted to make sure that I got every single child. So we have to have that intentionality, and we have to be creative and figure out fun ways to celebrate all the kids, so that those times that they're not on the screen and we don't see them, and even in our best efforts, we miss that hand, that they still feel valued and validated. So when we take all of these things that everybody was saying, the hangouts, the play dates, because I do play dates, all of those fun things, the kids feel valued. So when there are those hiccups and oopses, they don't have to say never, almost like never call me. That's not the one thing they remember. So we have to make sure that we're doing everything that we can, so a child never has to say what Phillip said.
Yes, and you hit it perfect, Tracy, and that's a great way to wrap it up here today for us here at School Rubric, because this is all the time we have time for here on Office Hours. So to finish up, we're going to remind you of some different dates that are going to come up on the screen here. Office Hours, the next one will be April 27th, 2021. So that's 2 weeks away. The Burlington County Institute of Technology was so inspired by our one word. They are doing a video, and we're going to watch it, and it's going to be so much fun. I'm actually not going to be on that one, but I know I'll be watching live, and I'll be so excited to see the video and see exactly what they came up with. Also, Global Take. I almost said Extra Without Borders. That's the other one. Global Take will be live on Thursday, April 15th at 6 a.m. School Rubric is, I will say it because I know they won't. They are the best at getting educators from all over the place. Texas, Brazil, all kinds of different places. So check that out. They're going to be talking about landing your first or next international teaching job. Thank you so much, all of you guys, for being here tonight. I know your time is valuable as a teacher and as a parent and everything else you people do. So I appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in to School Rubric. Make sure you like and follow and subscribe to all their channels. They are so great, and you're going to get so many awesome things from them, like our faces from Office Hours, everything. So thank you so much. Have a great night. See ya.
Bye.
Hi, guys.
Thank you for watching Office Hours presented by School Rubric. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we highlight voices and perspectives of educational leaders across the globe. To stay in the know with our latest upcoming panels, interviews, tutorials, and more, make sure that you follow us on social media or visit us at schoolrubric.com. Thank you.